scientifically it is true. Women are more emotional. So in a work environment, men probably could handle that a little bit better than women could. Scientifically, it's true. So that it just makes sense. It just makes sense. Everything,
That's
everything.
misogynistic. You're being
It,
misogynistic here.
I well,
You need to be
if
exposed.
if you define the word, it's when you have hate towards women,
So
and
you hate your own self.
when
That's what they're
Andrew Tate when
yeah.
Andrew Tate says that, a lot of women that watch it just are sheep. Just like you said, they don't even know what the word misogyny means.
Has your porn and sex addiction affected your studies, work, marriage, and family relationship? Are you stuck with feelings of guilt, shame, remorse, and despair? Or has your addiction progressed from pornography to zina? Well, we're here to tell you you're not alone.
Tazkiyah is the place where Muslim males and females struggling with pornography addictions can find recovery and freedom.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brothers and sisters and dear friends. Hope you guys are well, inshallah. So, the reason I'm doing this specific video with the sisters, as you can see, let me centralize myself. Oh, there we go. I had a message. Some sister messaged me, and she seemed very, very disturbed. Like it's as if her iman was on the line, and she really, really expressed. I asked her to join as well. I don't know if she. I don't think she is going to, but she was very distressed. She was like, "We feel let down by our brothers," and there was a lot of things she said. I can't remember. She was saying that there's certain things that Andrew Tate said before. So she was very surprised how the brothers just embraced him and they're happy over it. So I thought to myself, any believer whose iman is being shaken, whatever it may be, even if some people watching this and be like, oh, it's your typical feminist, and to me, I take it seriously. Whatever it is, I think it's important. And I always on my channel try to have the sisters to have their say, for them to come and open up to us as well. So what I was going to say is, inshallah, that's why I invited you guys to come on, inshallah. So I want to, inshallah, get straight into it. I don't know how many of you guys are, I'm not going to say pro or against, but what is your opinions of Andrew Tate? And what is your opinion, like, for example, him coming to Islam?
You know, only time will tell how he will use Islam and how it will refine him, inshallah. That's what, you know, none of us are going to be the judge of that. And we can only tell from observation as time goes on. But yes, it's definitely something that from experience, it is here to refine us. It is here to make us better. That is the whole point of it. Every single one of the Sahaba were reverts. Some of them came from the worst of paths and became the best of people. Personally, as a revert, you know, if somebody was to know me 12 years ago, it would be a completely different person that they knew. So I know what it can do. I also know that a lot of people come to Islam and it really doesn't do much for them, you know, and they fall into the wrong guidance and that kind of thing. That can also happen. But my answer to anybody that has a sort of a shaken faith by it or anything else like that, if anything, they should just reframe the way that they're thinking about it. The sister, they should be thinking, subhanallah, our Allah is so great that even someone like Andrew Tate, so if they really dislike him and his past comments so much, they should be even more overwhelmed with joy that this person, you know, is now going to, inshallah, become better. So they should be happy. They should be like, right, I didn't like him. Hopefully now he'll be better. They should be, your faith would be, it would make more logic. It would make more sense anyway for your faith to be shaken if Islam hadn't affected him in such a way.
Yeah. So what do you think are the concerns? Because I think a lot of sisters felt maybe threatened by him, but now that he's a Muslim, they're like, oh my gosh, like, you know, our husbands or our brothers or cousins are already, you know, like kind of whatever, like influenced by him, but now he's a Muslim. So the thing is, do you think there's some kind of a fear where he's like, this is what I sense. I sense as if our sisters, like, and I might be wrong, yeah, our sisters, be it feminist or not feminist, they have this genuine concern of traditional men waking up. Like, well, hold on a second, like, well, what's going on here? Like, as if, like, I feel as if there is some kind of the Western world and feminism and what's the agenda that it's pushing is made men and not to feel wanting to be a man, like they're afraid to be a man. Jordan Peterson talks about this. Do you think this is where it's coming from, where the sisters are just terrified of like a man who's got the traditional values, you know, like being the maintainer and protector, and our sisters are kind of brainwashed into this whole, you know, maybe the career, feminism, equality. Do you think that plays a role? Any of you guys can?
Yeah. Yeah, that was actually, subhanAllah, one of the first things that I wanted to say. I remember there was a video, and I'm sure you guys might have seen this, where this guy, he goes around and he asks women if they know who Andrew Tate is and whether they like him or not. And most of them were like, no, we don't, right? And then he asked them why. And they couldn't really, come up with a reason why. What did he say? What did he do, right? And so what I found is that they're not so worried really with what he says, but rather what triggers them is the fact that he is empowering men. He came with a movement that is empowering masculinity, manhood, and he's saying there's nothing wrong with masculinity. And a lot of men are resonating with that because for a long time they've been emasculated. And so now you have, and that's why a lot of women who, they don't have a problem with traditional men, a lot of women who are not prescribing to these Western isms, they don't really have a problem with him converting to Islam, right? And so they're coming in, they're understanding why he converted to Islam, they're understanding what his perspective is, and whatever he said before, even before, they understand the perspective that he's coming from. A lot of the people that did have a problem, and it's not only feminists, it's just liberals in general, a lot of these people had a problem with Andrew Tate even before he converted to Islam. And so a lot of the Muslims who prescribe to these isms, not only women who prescribe to feminism, but even some men, a lot of the people who had a problem with Andrew Tate converting to Islam, it's because of their prescription towards liberalism. And because of this, they are not able to really understand the effects of emasculation, of feminism. Why? Because liberalism, of which feminism stems from, are all rooted in individualism. These people are obsessed with themselves. And when you are so obsessed with yourself, right, which is what individualism is, you don't really have the time to observe society, to care about what's going on to everybody else, and to critically and logically put aside your emotions and just analyze what's going on. So a lot of the women, right, who actually accepted, because we know that the men, most of them were happy with Andrew Tate's conversion, right? The women who were, it's because they do not prescribe to individualism. And you won't hear them saying we're feminists. And so the women that did have a problem, they were the women who basically, they are individualists. They don't understand where he's coming from. And they feel threatened.
Yeah, I saw that video as well. And it just seems like that. It's like when someone is vilified, other people just follow like sheep. Like they're like, okay, why is this guy there? Nobody asks why, how, what was it about? There is no evidence. We just see a lot of emotions, and it like, sisters can be quite emotional, and unless some people might even disvert, like, oh, you're misogynistic, oh, look at you, how dare you? No, they can be. It's I'm not saying every single one of them. There's exceptions to the rule, but they can have their moments when they're emotional. But the thing is here is that, like, for example, let's go to, like, let's say Sister Imani, and the rest as well, inshallah. That, what do you think? Like the sister mentioned as well, what other concerns do you think these sisters have? What is their problem? Because I feel as if what she said is right, that they are afraid that men are, men have been emasculated, and now they are embracing that, and they're like, well, hold on a second, I've been sleeping all this time. And I feel as if the Muslim females, not all of them, they see that as a direct threat. Do you agree? Do you think that's where the sentiment's coming from?
Yeah, I can say something. I agree with the sister. I think that it is mainly the women in the religion and outside the religion that ascribe to these isms, like you say. And it all comes down to individualism, and it all comes down to the fact that they're not ascribing themselves to Islam holistically, and an ism instead. So I do get that. And then I think there's also a small crossover of women who are a little bit confused. So although they may be quite traditionalist in themselves, I think you were right in saying that maybe there are some sisters who have heard, that he's heard things about him and whatnot. They're not quite sure what he said. They might be married and they're worried that their husbands are going to, take on these traits that they've heard, which may or may not be true. And it may just be something and nothing for those women. They may be actually, if they were to listen to what he's saying, they may not disagree as much as they thought. But I think there's a small percentage of women who are just a bit confused, and they think what he's saying is worse than what it is as well. Thing is that his delivery pre-Islam you know, it was quite extreme. And I think that was like 90% of the issue. That now that he's Muslim, hopefully, inshallah, he'll have that guidance on how to address people and things. You know, it can be refined, and maybe there are a small cross section of women who aren't so far into the feminism and the isms, but inshallah they'll just see that actually no, he's got quite a Muslim fitra about him to an extent. It just needs to be
molded,
refined a little bit.
Okay, so that's interesting. Like you said, that subhanallah. So we've got two people here, Bako and Safwan. Are these? Can you guys unmute yourself? And yes, so is it Sister Bako?
Yes, hello.
Yeah. So what's your stance on Andrew Tate? Are you more pro? Do you have concerns? Do you have any concerns with Andrew Tate, like before, now, and like, and what are the concerns of the other sisters? Like, you know, why are females some Muslim women are very, like, you know, upset about, you know, himself?
Okay, first of all, Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Thank you for adding me in. The only thing that I would like to say is that Andrew Tate has had a bit of a harsh delivery before. In the past, he speaks his mind. He says things that he truly believes, but his delivery was a little bit harsh. Now, if I'm pro or against Andrew Tate, I am 100% agreeing with, let's say, 99.9% of the things that he says, because he is quite accurate. He might say it in a very harsh way. He might say it in a way that might offend somebody, but
when you say he's accurate,
in order to be able to think, you have to be able to offend people sometimes as well, and you have to be able to listen.
For example, Andrew Tate used, like, if I'm not mistaken, he's used words like, you know, some sort of obedience to the husband, you know. So a lot of people, this might be one of the issues, like, you know, a lot of Muslim sisters, like I've been in the Dawah for 10 years speaking, they don't like that word when it comes to obedience. Like, do you think these are like trigger words, like when people hear it, like in general, to everyone, like maybe open it to everyone, inshallah. You guys can unmute yourself. I think it was Brother Shoaib's audio, so I want to make it open discussion, inshallah. In a nutshell, for example, as female, you tend to within your nature, and I think it's across all of them, all the sisters watching, within your nature, for example, you know, when you have a child, I don't know. Does anybody have kids here? Anybody have children? Any other sisters? No. Okay, if you guys do or don't, but you know, when you have a child, you tend to like the fact that they depend on you. You love the fact that they need you. You want to give them that love. You want to protect them, and you want to nurture them. You want to look after them, and you love that fact. Like my wife always says, the fact that our child depends on her, that you know, she finds that amazing. For us
100%.
men, we are the same way. We love the fact that our partners depend on us. Now, dependence doesn't mean in the wrong way, where I have these strings and I will do whatever I like with you, and if you don't, and I will cut one of the strings. The thing is here is that we as men, just as you with your child, we love the fact that our wives depend on us, and we're the providers and protectors and carers. So to go to Sister Amina and Sister Imani and Sister Zahra, just open discussion. Do you think, like I said before, that is one of the issues they have when it comes to a man's role as, you know, being obedient to him? Are there trigger words that Andrew Tate has used that's caused this animosity towards him in the Muslim?
I think the most triggering thing was when he once mentioned that after a marriage, when the father like walks the bride to the aisle to the groom, the woman belongs to him, and the word belongs to him was, I think, quite triggering for a lot of women. But I think he also clarified today in the podcast with Muhammad Hijab that he meant that belonging to the man means that the man is now in charge of taking care of the woman and providing for her and like giving her a safe home, a safe environment. But instead, in social media or mainstream media, it was portrayed as if he was saying that the woman is now his property and he can sell her or anything like this. So it was quite taken into the extreme, although I think he even clarified his stance there. And I think this is also generally not only in Andrew Tate's scenario now, but in general, mainstream media always tells that.
I'm sorry, guys, my connection is absolutely awful. I'm in the middle of a town centre, and I don't think there's a massive lag.
Okay. No problem. If there's, I'm going to come to you next. If there's quickly something you just want to add on, Aki, before you go. So just finish your point.
As soon as a man is going to adopt the traditional masculine role, it's called toxic masculinity. Although I think there isn't really the term toxic masculinity or toxic femininity. I think these are just made up words. So
exactly. Jordan Peterson says, for example, there's toxic masculinity, but why is it not toxic femininity? Toxic is toxic. Why is it toxic only connected to masculinity? You know, because these days, like, for example, I'll be honest with you, I know many cases of brothers who are being falsely accused of rape, who have been falsely accused of beating their wives, etc. Who have been like, they're going through this stuff. And you can see even like, for example, I hear stories of women physically trying to attack their husbands. So why isn't that toxic femininity? So why is toxic only connected to masculinity, which is a point that you made?
If one understands essentially what masculinity is, there is no such thing as toxic masculinity, because everything that they categorize, right, as masculinity is something that actually goes, as toxic masculinity is something that goes against masculinity, because masculinity is a part of the characteristics of masculinity is that a man wants to protect, he wants to provide, he wants to take care, he wants to be a leader. He has all these positive characteristics. That's masculinity. And so when a man does something that opposes any of this, you can't say that that's toxic masculinity. What's toxic about that is the lack of masculinity. And that's also one of the reasons why today there's a lot of crimes against women, because feminism emasculated men. It told them that masculinity is wrong. And now they're emasculated. They don't have masculinity anymore. And so they're doing all of these things. And instead of us recognizing that it's because of emasculation, it's because these men are lacking their masculinity, and we need to go back to that, we're saying, no, it's toxic masculinity. It's like a Band-Aid that they're putting on top.
It's as good as me telling a woman that she cannot be feminine. If you're feminine, if you explore your feminine side to yourself, you are toxic feminine. And you're like, well, okay, what do I become then? So if I cannot become a man, if I'm scared to be like, you know what, in my household, I'm the leader. Yeah. And let me make that extra very clear. I am the leader in my household. Yeah. What does that mean by leader? I go and beat my wife up. I go, hey, I'm the leader. Bow. Let me start punching you. And you know, if you don't do this, yeah, where's my food? My food is late, too salty. Okay, slap. I mean, what I don't know what goes through people's minds. Yeah. Is that leader means what? At the end of the day, there can't be two leaders in the household. Yeah, there has to be one leader. Does that mean I don't take my wife's decisions? Of course I do. Today I've planned the day. And by the way, women like to be planned, you know, ahead, you know, the fact that the man is taking that leading role. But if my wife comes and says, you know, instead of eating there, should we go here? I go, that's a brilliant idea, actually. I never thought of that. Let's go and do that. So it's this notion that obedience, being the leader, being the provider, somehow is a direct threat. Oh my gosh. Do you think that's the case, Sister Imani and Sister Amina?
No, I personally think things like 50-50 is wrong. It's wrong, and I wouldn't like to do that. But women can't expect to not go 50-50 and then think I shouldn't be obedient to my husband. I shouldn't respect my husband. You can't have your cake and eat. There needs to be some level of fairness. It's not to do with equality. It's to do with equity. The fact of the matter is, it's a lot of women not wanting traditional men. It's women wanting modern men that want to go 50-50, men that don't know how to be in charge, and men that would obey the wife more than the wife would obey the man. It's how women want it to be more modernized. It's just how times are changing now, and you see people allowing certain things that shouldn't be allowed, like in schools, for example. It's just how women think, this is something that's wrong. Women shouldn't have to obey the man at all, because women should be obeyed too.
Sister Amina, do you believe that when it comes to like, what is it that, for example, that you said you don't want it 50-50? Yeah. Okay. And we believe that's Islam. The thing is, we see like women want traditional men, but they don't want to be traditional women. So they're like, yeah, I want this, and this. Okay, good. But these men want these. And they're like, oh, no, but I don't want to be. Well, hold on a second. What do you mean? Like, you want this, but you don't want to be. So traditional men want traditional women. So like you said, obedience, for example, someone might come and say, you're just brainwashed. You're a woman. You're a self-hating woman, you know. So when you say, for example, like a man should be obeyed. Like, let me put it like this, and tell me if I'm wrong. Yeah. At the end of the day, a man's job is not easy. Neither is a woman's. A woman has, like, you know, there's things that a woman can do that I can't do, and there's things I can do that a woman cannot do. And we need to. We're a team together. If we both had the equal things, if I didn't rely on my wife, and my wife didn't rely on me, how would we even be a team? Do you get what I'm trying to say? It's like if I had a specific business where I'm selling something, like Andrew Tate said this in his video. He said, if I'm an accountant and then you have a tailor, and if you said to the tailor, you know what, you do half the accounting and get the tailor to do, and you do half of the tailoring. He's an expert in his field. I'm an expert in my field. We work together and we make a company. Like he said it very well, you know. So the thing is that it should be like that. But it's as if the sisters are like, no, you know, we want to be equal. And it's like, why is your success bar men in the first place? It's self-defeating. I want to be like a man. Why do you want to be like a man? So, Sister Imani, can we just have you, Masha, even a bit quiet? But
I was just listening. Everyone's got really good views. I agree with pretty much everything. I'm glad that it's to be honest, it would have been more fun if there was someone disagreeing with us, but we're all pretty much on the same page, alhamdulillah, which is also really good.
Why are you guys in the same page? Because I'll be honest with you, it's very interesting because it shows that there are Muslim women out there who do not hate Andrew Tate. Yes, there are things that he said.
I mean, I still have questions to what you're saying, and this is just a learning lesson for myself, if anything. And I understand completely where you're coming from, that there are some women out there who are not willing to fulfill their traditionalist side of things, and they may want to have their cake and eat it too. Me personally, I don't think I'm, inshallah, going to have that issue when I get married, but it would be nice to know what are some of those things that men want women to come back to. What is it that they feel when we generalize women and say they don't want to do these things? Obviously not us, alhamdulillah, but some women out there, what are these things? There's the obvious ones, like, you know, demanding to go out and work when their husband doesn't want them to.
I can tell you, like, as a traditional man, that if you're asking the question, I can list the things that we want.
Yeah, sometimes it's good to know that as well.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. Like, for number one, for example, I want to be, like, for example, the provider. I believe in a relationship, if the woman is a provider, it will not work out. Now, this doesn't mean a woman cannot have a job. Of course, she can have a job. If my wife wanted to go do a part-time job because she wants to, I have no problem. That money is hers. She can do whatever she likes with it. But I will never allow her to pay for the rent, the shopping, petrol, whatever it may be. I will say to her, I don't care if you're a multi-millionaire. These are the things I pay for. I don't believe a relationship will work because a man, for example, will feel very insulted if one day a little argument happens and she goes, well, who pays for the bill? Well, that is, for a man, that's like as good as punching him.
Yeah,
he would never want to hear that because he feels like he wants to be the maintainer and protector. Just as a woman has that towards her child, she loves the fact that she needs to provide for him. Number two.
And I totally understand that. And my question is, I mean, alhamdulillah, that's like, you know, dream come true. You don't have to work. You're looked after. So my perspective is, I just don't understand, you know, where this pool of women are coming from when it comes to these things. I mean, maybe also it's hard for me to speak on it because I've never been married and I'm not married yet. So maybe, you know, inshallah, I'll have to deal with these difficulties myself. But objectively and looking inward, it just looks like maybe they don't know how good it can be, like how good they could actually have it. And
it's what it is, sister. What they've done, there's a book called Miseducation of Women by James Tooley. I recommend you guys to read it. Yeah, it just talks about how the women have been brainwashed into this whole career mindset. I speak to, like, individual sisters, etc., where they don't feel complete. Like, if they have a child and they bring the child at home, they feel like they are worthless. I have to have a career. And as men, I don't have no criteria. When I was looking for my partner, I don't care if she was a dustbin collector. I don't care if she was wiping the windows. I don't care what it's irrelevant. Her career had zero to do with my decision factor. I do not look and be like, because women tend to look at a man's future and be like, okay, I want a man who's strong, who's working, who's doing something with his life. We as men, we don't look for a woman with a career. I'll be honest with you. I don't look for a woman with a career. Personally, as men, most traditional men, they don't want that. They just look for a wife who can be their companion, you know, that is a traditional woman. For example, if a man says to his wife, you know what, I don't like you wearing lipstick. I don't want you to go out with lipstick. Misogyny. What do you mean misogyny? What do you mean misogyny? If I am protecting, maintaining, if I'm walking down the road and somebody comes with a knife and trying to attack my wife, I'm going to have to put my life on the line, meaning I am willing to die for you. Literally, I am willing to die for you. If I'm in a ship, imagine the Titanic here. Let's make this a bit more romantic here. And me and my wife are on it. I'm going to be sending my wife and the kids. I'm going to be taking that risk of, you know what, you guys are safe. So if a man is willing to go down that route where he's trying to protect and trying to provide, and if a thief comes, knocks on the door when she's scared, like there's certain things. I'll never let my wife out. For example, once my wife took out the bin, and I think I was in, like, I can't remember. I think I was doing something. I didn't notice. And I was really upset. I said, look, look at the time. It's dangerous out there. I don't want, like, I tell her, I'll take the bin out. That's my job. Yeah. Don't ever feel like, you know, you have to do stuff like that. So the thing is, why? Because I care about her. I don't want, like, something so simple like that. It should be my duty. So if that's the case, what is wrong with us men asking for obedience? Meaning that if I'm doing all of these because I care and love for you, not because I want to control you and I'm insecure and I'm toxic, why is it hard for sisters to be like, you know what? You're deserving.
Can I say one more thing? Sorry, I know I've like kind of dominated now recently as well. Is that I agree with all of that as well. And I think that if I was to, you know, play the other side for a minute, try and put myself in the mind of these sisters who have these worries, these concerns, I would say that my only fear or concern going forward would be the fact that there are also a group of men, I don't know the size, whether it's small or big, but there are a group of men who do it on the other way, where they expect the obedience and they expect everything else, but then they don't provide. So they, you know, and then they don't do these things. And then women are forced into poverty and situations where, you know, either they defy their husband and, you know, go through some other situation or whatever, not even poverty, but they're forced into situations where they're always leading anyway. The man's just very, you know, relaxed. He's like, yeah, don't worry, you make the decision. And she's just like, I don't want to make decisions, but we have kids to feed and, you know, schools to pick and things like that. So
we need to call those, we need to call those brothers out, and we do. Like me,
yeah, of course, I know.
Comes to me and says there's this potential, I'm getting to know him, etc. But he said I need to be contributing towards the rent. I'll tell that sister straight, don't marry that guy.
Yeah, like hell no. But it's just, you know, maybe if that's what I'm saying, I'm just trying to put myself in their shoes, in their mind. Maybe because of this small group of people or large group of people, it's then become a coping mechanism and a barrier. They're kind of like, no one's going to take the mick out of me like that. I have to be self-sufficient. And so they put up this wall, believing that every man is going to use that in this toxic way. I hate to use toxic word, you know.
That's a valid point.
That's because they put a band-aid on the problem.
Yeah, they're not understanding that.
They didn't actually,
if we go back to things like you said, sister, then it would be fine.
So that's valid, because what that shows is that the incompetence of men are leading women to be insecure, that they are now looking for alternatives to provide because they're not seeing a future with this husband. So in that instance, I'll say, you know what, look, I'm totally with you guys. If a man is making you feel insecure and he's not protecting and providing, and he's not even, when it comes to like wants certain respect, etc., how he's disrespecting you, he's abusing you, he's maybe hitting you, and all this kind of stuff, and on top of that wants obedience, we are not talking about a man like that. And let me be a bit more controversial, like hadith of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, who said that if I was to ask, and this, some sisters might hear this and be like, whoa, yeah, if I was to ask anyone to bow down to anyone, it will be the wife to the husband. Bow down, you know, prostration that we go into. He said, if it was allowed, I would ask the wife to bow down to the husband. Now, the husband that we're talking about, when we hear these kind of hadiths, is like, oh my gosh, my husband who hits me, who beats me, who doesn't provide for me. No, when did the Prophet talk about him? The Prophet ﷺ is talking about a man who is good to his family, who's good to his kids, who is protecting, who provides, who loves his wife, who's soft with his wife, who provides for his wife. And there's so many things. And he's, because going out there and working, or if a war happens, putting your life on the line, these are big sacrifices. So Allah and his messengers are acknowledging the gratitude to that kind of man. But a lot of sisters, they tend to they think this husband that they may have, or their father, and they like, what the Prophet wants me to bow down. But who said that?
And the funny thing is, going back to Andrew Tate, is that see these stipulations that you're saying that, you know, well, the stipulations are in place for the man as well. You know, we're not just asking for blind obedience. I believe that even though he delivered it kind of harshly, he also made the stipulations. He would always say, if a man is going to do this, then a woman should do this, and he would provide the stipulation. I didn't see many videos where he was saying women should do this and women. It was always, if a man is doing this. So I feel like coming back to him,
because you know that's the point. You know, there's things that
just to touch on, if you think of Andrew Tate is look, he's saying things where he's like, okay, he's telling the men to be real men. And that's good, because what that's doing is, like we spoke about, if men are real men, a woman would not feel insecure or wanted to find a career job to provide because the men. So if Andrew Tate is saying, be a man and this is how to be a man, what's wrong with that? That's going to defeat the whole thing of, okay, this is how men should be. And if you're like this, which is good, yeah, there's some stuff he said before, which it's a new beginning for him. That's what he's selling for a man to be a real man. If that's the case, that should be embraced by our sisters.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to mention is, so when they say that we have an exception, these bad men, they are the exception to the rule, right? Now, the reason why many sisters, you guys can hear an echo?
No, we can hear you.
Okay, good. So the reason why many sisters feel so insecure, it's because it's not only because of these men. That's the idea that's being pushed to them, but it's really because they're being told that their value is weighed either in the level of in relation to man or in terms of money. If you can be a mother, you can have children, you can have all of that, you can have many children, mashallah, your family is all healthy and well, but society will not praise you for that. The way that they'd praise you if you're doing something out in society, a career or something like that, because they've now made that financial status, that's what your value is weighed in. Until you do everything a man can do, then you're worthless. So everything to do with femininity, motherhood, everything to do with us being a woman is being degraded.
Yes.
And one of the reasons, and the reason why this has become so prevalent, is because, and it's this is why I say all isms are interconnected, right? We have feminism here, and it's interconnected to secularism. Why? Because when they took Allah out of the equation, they took God, they made a secular society, they took God out of the equation. Now they have to set a standard by which everybody would now have to follow the standard. So who did they put in the standard? They put the man, they put the masculine. And so everything else would be inferior. In front of Allah, in our distinctiveness, both men and women are equal. Both the masculine and the feminine are equal in our distinctiveness. So femininity, it's different from masculinity, but the value is the same. Our significance in society is the same. What happens when you take Allah out of the equation? What has put us on that same level of significance is gone. So then now what the masculine proceeds, takes the place, and now you have femininity and everything else, which it's not on the same level anymore. So now, until you become the standard, which is now the man, you have to provide, you have to work, you have to do this, you have to do that. Until you become that, you will feel inferior. And society will not praise you for that.
Exactly.
And so that's what happened now that's how secularism is interconnected to feminism. They don't have Allah to put them all on the same level.
Yeah, I think Sister Watt really just pointed out a lot of things that were really had to be said and made clear. And just one point that I wanted to add, I mean, it's just an argument, but I would even argue that the woman has been made just a product of the economy. I mean, 100 years ago, women weren't even working. They were at home and were homemakers, right? Yes. But slowly until now, I mean, until today, every other woman is a working woman and is being taken out of this home role, the homemaker role. And I think the main, I mean, if you think from the other side, what is the advantage from, let's say, these people? We always say they, but we don't really know who they are. But I think the one point which is really important to look at is that we're just we're just being added to the people who pay tax, right? So if one man is working in one house, he's providing for the home, and he's one man that's paying taxes, right? But if the woman, the wife is being made to go to work, and then the children, as soon as they are old enough, everyone, even if it's a boy or a girl, if everyone goes to work, more taxpayers. I mean, this is one argument that I haven't been thinking about, but lately I just came across this, and it really clicked, and it makes a lot of sense when we're in these discussions.
Exactly, and it will increase the
There's three
value of
things.
the man that's working, because if women stay at home, then there's more demand for workers. That it will increase the value of the man, and that man will provide, because the value will increase. Should we go to
The
just quickly?
wages as well. It decreases the wages and the education system. See, now you get the children into the education system as quickly as possible, and the education system actually benefits the corporate world. So you get the children into the schools as quick as possible, because both the man and the woman are out in the workforce. And then now, because you have more people working for you, the jobs are less in demand, you lower the wages.
Yeah.
And then double the taxes. Now you have the whole population out into the society. So those are the three advantages. You see, that's how capitalism is now related to feminism. And this is why I say all isms are interconnected.
I think some of the things that sisters are also annoyed about is how Andrew Tate said some things like women don't know how to handle their emotion, they are emotional, and all of that. Scientifically, it is true. Women are more emotional. So in a work environment, men probably could handle that a little bit better than women could. Scientifically, it's true. So that it just makes sense. It just makes sense. Everything.
That's misogynistic. You're being misogynistic.
Well,
you need to be
if you define the word, it's when you have hate towards women, and
so you hate yourself.
When Andrew Tate, when Andrew Tate says that, a lot of women that watch it just are sheep. Just like you said, they don't even know what the word misogyny means. So they will say, yeah, he's misogynistic. They will not have a clue what misogyny even means.
Exactly.
So when you ask them, oh, by the way, what does misogyny even mean? They just don't know what to say. They will just freeze. Andrew Tate hasn't really said anything that has hate towards women. So in my opinion, it's just a lack of knowledge.
Yeah, it is, and it's just fear mongering. I just see it's what it's. I mean, what they're doing is the same with us Muslims. You know, when they go and ask these, people who don't like us, they're all like this. They're like, okay, what does it say in the Quran?
What's wrong with them? And they're like, they don't know.
What's the Quran say? No, they just hate us. We just don't like the Muslims. It's just like the fear mongering. Everyone's like, oh my God, scared. Do you know what we're scared of? No, I don't know what it is. Have you read the book? No, I don't. It's just this fear mongering that's been happening, and you can see it, subhanAllah. And the study, like in the book that I'm reading, Miseducation of Women, James Tooley, he talks about it. There was a study done from the 1970s, and Mohammed Hijab mentioned in this podcast, the 1990s. They interviewed about 100,000 women. And, if you look at it, they are less happy. The fact that all of you sisters are in sync, like, I'll be honest with you, that the fact that you're like, because you know why? You want a husband that will protect and provide. It's not the other way of this whole career woman, etc. You can see that women are less happy in the workplace. I think 78% or 80% of women said that they get stressed. They have psychological issues pertaining to having to go to work. They want somebody. So if you look at our sisters or Muslim females at large as well, they generally don't want to go work. They want traditional men. But the point is also, we need to be bearing in mind as well, are there traditional men? Yeah, and that's another issue as well, which we need to be fair as well. Are men today? Sadly, they're not. So I think there's a revival happening. Sister Bako, is there anything you would like to add on before we wrap up?
Yes, I fully agree with all the sisters and what they were saying. I wanted to just add one thing to the sisters as well. The funny thing about feminism is that it has completely brainwashed the entire society and has brainwashed women into working and asking and begging to become a man, basically, and fulfilling manly and more masculine roles. At the same time, hating on the same masculine roles whenever men are fulfilling those roles and calling them toxic. And the funny thing is that women actually don't have an issue with the word obey. This is actually, it is a very triggering word. It's like a hot topic button. It's like you turn it and everybody goes a little bit crazy. But I noticed that most of the women, especially the ones that are working, have been brainwashed into wanting to work and not do anything else to be able to value themselves to the equality of men. With men, they don't mind obeying their boss. They don't mind obeying their employer. They
That's
don't
the
mind
hypocrisy.
obeying. That's the hypocrisy. Absolutely.
It's enslavement to obey your husband and your children, but it's empowerment to obey your boss. Do you see that?
Absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. It's complete hypocrisy. If your husband asks you, "Can you please make me a coffee?" You'll be like, "Oh no, don't you dare!
No.
I'm not your slave."
Yeah,
But
exactly. But the
whenever,
boss can tell her, and
yes,
she'll be like, yes, of course. You see, that's the hypocrisy. But that's the point. It's all
that's,
about.
sorry. I'm just a bit excited here. Sorry, because that it just really triggers me. I'm so sorry. Finish the statement, sister. Sorry.
no, it's absolutely true. If her boss asks her, she'll be like, "Oh yes, of course. So would you like milk and sugar with that?" But whenever it's your husband, it's like, "Oh, I'm not your slave. Go do it yourself." And the boss doesn't care about you. He really doesn't care about you. He'll replace you tomorrow if you misfire one sheet of paper or whatever it is.
Exactly.
But your
And you know
husband
what they
actually cares
say?
about you and loves you.
You know, you hear a lot of women busy saying, oh, but what if, I have to go and work. I have to go and get a career. What if my husband dies? What if I get a divorce? What if your boss fires you? You're going to be in the same predicament. Your rizq comes from Allah. It doesn't come through a person. That's what many women today think, that their rizq comes through a person. It doesn't. It comes from a person. It comes through a person. If that person goes, you're going to get your rizq through another way.
Exactly. It's like taking the akal over the nakal, like thinking, oh, Allah is the one who provides. But it's very important, because if you think about it, your boss has no connection to your kids and you as an individual. Yeah. He can fire you immediately. Your husband will think twice, because he'll be like, I've shared my life with this person. I love this person. We have kids. So many factors that might have prevent him from giving the divorce. And we know, like, most of the cases, 70% or 80% of the times, women tend to initiate divorces anyways. But the thing is here, what you said is very important. If we reverse things and we said, you know what, if an individual, if I was married to a woman who was like, no, you go do this, etc., she's a career woman or whatever, I'll say, you know what, no problem. I'm not paying for the rent, shopping, nothing. We're going to have an employer relationship. From now on, I'm going to be paying you hourly rate. How much do you want? £25 an hour. No problem. I'm going to give you £30 an hour. And £30 an hour, there you go. You can. We're going to share the bills. We're going to share the electric. We're going to share the gas. Everything we're going to share. You're employed by me. And I would like coffee in the morning, please. Thank you very much. And at 2 p.m., I would like my food, please. I would like biryani or lasagna. And then you know what? She would be like, well, hold on a second. This is exactly. So what was the difference? What was the difference? When it is an employer, it's like, okay, I have to. If I don't, I'm in trouble. I have 3 strikes. But when it's your husband, do you get what I'm trying to say? This, so it's very, very valid. So I think that's it. I don't need to say anything anymore. I think may Allah bless you guys. Wallahi, I always like to have sisters coming on board, because I can't speak for you. You speak for yourself. And I think you guys spoken very clear facts, opinions. We talked about things, And once again, I don't want sisters that are watching this. We know, and what we're striving for in the dawah field, be honest with you, is to get men to be men again. We know, sadly, a lot of men are not men. When I hear this stuff of brothers saying, yeah, I want my wife to contribute, it makes me sick. She doesn't have
Can I add to that, please?
She doesn't need to contribute to nothing, brother. And if you are even thinking of that, you're not ready for marriage. Please don't look for marriage.
Yeah.
You are not ready for marriage.
Definitely.
Yeah, can I add to that? I'm sure everybody has noticed what's happening to society. They're turning men into women and women into men. So women they're turning them so masculine, just want to do work, and go and get your money, sis, boss babe, and all of those girl boss BS that you're seeing everywhere. And men are being celebrated for turning into women and being more feminine, and they're feminizing men. And the funny thing is, we're living in this really weird delusion, because let's be honest, whenever the real life actually hits, you see what happened in Ukraine. The moment that the war started, women and children, everybody go.
I belong in the kitchen
they have
again.
to stay and fight. Yeah. Women are like, yeah, let's go. We have to forget feminism. They drop their feminism like it's
exactly.
it's
you should have seen it on TikTok, all over TikTok. All these feminists.
Yeah. They're like, I want to go back to the kitchen. They're like, I love
it. Exactly. It's like,
so now you want the kitchen.
Now you want to go back. Now it's become fun. Now you want to go back.
There was a transgender woman, yeah? And he was literally said, no, you're going to war. Sorry, there's no... See, so when reality hits, is like, if you think about it, how many of you sisters, if you're in a house, may Allah protect you guys, and the house is on fire, and they say, okay, we're going to call the feminist fire brigade, and they're all women. How many of you guys, you'd be like, no, I don't, no, I need men to...
No, thank you. They wouldn't even come. Even if you called them, they wouldn't come.
No, they wouldn't.
They wouldn't even come.
How many feminists would want a group of women fire brigade team coming to save you? There's certain things they're not going to be able to do. I mean, you're going to have to carry a person on your shoulder. Yeah. Okay. And imagine, some people are quite heavy. Imagine you're going to die. No feminist would want that. I think that's it. I think we could maybe, inshallah, you sisters were amazing. May Allah bless every single one of you guys. May Allah preserve you guys. Thanks for giving this opportunity to have your say, inshallah. And brothers and sisters who are watching at home, hope you guys benefited from this. May Allah bless all the sisters. You heard from themselves. You know, there's this perception that Muslim women don't like Andrew Tate, etc. He's not perfect. We're not here to praise him. Let's just make this very clear. But we have a fine balance. We're not overly praising him. We're not here to have a go at him. We're just saying he accepted Islam. He has a past, like we all do. He's inshallah forgiven, inshallah, and we hope that he has a good ending and a good life, inshallah. We're just here to just talk about those facts. Sister Wad wants to say something quickly.
Just one more thing. I have to say to these sisters here, I have a community, traditional sisters, and I just love what you guys were saying, and I'd love you guys to join. It's called the Sisters Corner. We are a network of like-minded sisters, and we want to. The Sunnah guy probably knows us. He can tell you more about us, inshallah, Ali Dawa. But for you guys, you can find us on Instagram, the Sisters Corner, and I'd love to have you guys join because I'd love to get in contact with like-minded sisters, and our objective is to revive traditional Islamic values and to guide sisters back to their fitra. So inshallah, I'd love to have all of you guys join us, isn't that?
Inshallah. Sister Imani, any last words?
No, just again, it's been really nice to speak to some people that are on the same page. I find myself having to hold my tongue and just keep quiet in a lot of situations and conversations going on recently. And yeah, it was nice. It was nice that some people are on the same page and understand, but also it's nice that you understand that, you know, not that we agree with these sisters' views, but we can understand what's planted that in their head, and we can sympathize with them and try and, you know, encourage a different way of thinking.
Which is very valid because we don't want to dismiss these sisters. That's why I opened the plan.
Yeah, they're confused or they're worried about something. They obviously have this fear.
They have a genuine concern, and we need to understand that we can't brush it off. If someone has a genuine concern and they're hurt, that shows if somebody's iman is hurt, that it's not coming from a place of just trivial. It's something that there's a misunderstanding. And like you said, we're not here to belittle them, just so to understand them, etc. Inshallah.